Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to have Mindy Stern here. Just want to do a little bit of housekeeping from the beginning because a couple of us have actually been on calls and there's been sort of gremlins, if you will, in the LinkedIn live events. If by some chance this rewinds or freezes or something, watch it on the replay, and the replay will be perfectly fine. Um, just a technological challenge that we're all having, but again, in the meantime, I want to thank everyone for attending, and I hope that we can get through this perfectly well, which I'm sure we will. Got Mindy Stern today. Mindy Stern and I, typical networking story for these times. We met on an event. We started chatting. We started messaging, and then I said, why don't you be a guest? I'd love to have you as a guest, and Mindy returned the favor. So I'm so happy to have you. And you're actually based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and you were just telling me the story about you didn't realize that Virginia Franco was by you down there, even though you live so close by.
Exactly. She's practically a neighbor for me. And now we didn't know each other. And now through your connection, I was able to meet her, and she's going to end up on my accelerator call in a couple of months, as you will, Kenneth. So I'm so appreciative of this community of LinkedIn. And I have brought you a treat because yesterday was Halloween. So I promised you a treat. These are little
thank you.
Halloween pretzels. We did not get a lot of visitors, so I have a ton of leftover candy. This is actually pretzels. I'm not big on candy. So, and yes, Megan, we did coordinate. We're both in plaid. Thank you for noticing. I noticed it also.
Well, man, I felt badly. Megan, I think, had that call this morning, and you did a really great job, Megan, for sure. We got very few trick-or-treaters by us, but we don't expect them that much. But we've learned over time, like, I don't want to have a lot of candy in the house because I'm just going to be eating it. So I think one of my trips is going to be either to donate the rest of the candy or something. We did not coordinate the dress at all. But I have to really acknowledge that. It is a beautiful day here in New Jersey. I cannot believe it's November. It is 65 degrees. It's going to be 70 tomorrow. And this weekend is the time change, the dreaded time change. So a couple of things to start off with, Mindy. I mean, how did you get involved in coaching in the first place?
So years ago, I worked for a staffing company, and they believe strongly in coaching. And since I was leading up leadership and development for the company, they actually paid for my coaching class, which at that time was over $3,000. So I was very appreciative that they paid for it and sponsored me. And then I went on to be certified by the International Coach Federation. And I really spent my time there being an internal coach for Ronstead when we were, which is a relatively well-known staffing company. When I became director of human resources later on, fast forward, I used my coaching for creating teams and coaching managers to help them get high-performing teams. And so that was my entree into coaching. I loved my job at the bank. I was director of human resources for many, many years at Sterling National Bank. If you're from the New York area, you know Sterling very well. And I assumed I was going to retire from Sterling. I never thought that I was going to be leaving. But then after we acquired many banks and I was responsible for executing the layoffs, all of a sudden Sterling was acquired and I was sitting on the other side of the desk. So I got it. They didn't need two HR directors. I got that. But hearing that I was laid off, just felt like a punch in the gut. I did not expect it. Since that time, I have coached so many people through their job search, and I have lots of empathy for anyone who's gone through that life-changing experience. Anyone who's experienced that gets it. And so I'm just here now to help people, service them as much as I can to, get them to the next step. What's the next step of your career? And that's where I focus now.
I think one of the challenges, because I was in transition or laid off for more than 2 years at one point, and it's very challenging. I think the empathy you talk about is so important. I mean, I'd love for people in the chat, if you want to acknowledge any questions you have for Mindy and myself. We always like to make these just very general chats and specific. And you wrote a book, which was kind of what we used as you are the CEO of your career as one of the as kind of the title for this. How did you come up with that name for that book? And do you
Okay,
have the
wait.
book there? You had to
You
show the
do have
book.
the book? I
I
have
have
it.
the book. I'm actually looking over there to see if I can get to it
Okay.
without being.
That's all right. I got it.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay,
So I have it. All right.
okay.
So quick story, how I came up with the name of my book. So I believe that everyone should be an advocate for themselves, right? That's the whole premise of the book. If you're not going to advocate for yourself, no one else is going to do it. But here's how I came to this epiphany. When I started working for the staffing company, I was there about a year, and I went up to my boss and I said, hey, I'm doing an awesome job. I think I deserve a raise. And he said to me, you're never going to get a raise here, Mindy, because all you do is interview and place people in jobs. We were a staffing company. So I was so hurt. I was so, I don't know, I felt so like diminished by him that that's all I do. And when I went home, I said, that's so ironic because that's what we do. We interview and we place people in jobs. That's our business. But clearly he didn't value that. And so I said, I need to find something else that's going to make an impact on him and anyone else who has to decide whether I'm going to get a raise. So luckily at that time, we had a client, if you remember Manny Hanny back in the day, and they were looking for customer service reps and we could not fill them fast enough. So I contacted the client and I said, what are you looking for? And they told me, and I said, what if I could get you a ton of people that have those skills? And they said, great, we're always looking for new great people. So I created my first course and I called it Customer Service 101. And I invited all these people from my database because I knew we had excellent talent in the database because I had interviewed them all. So I invited them all down. I created this 10-day course. And at the end of the course, I invited the client. And the client came, and wouldn't you know, he hired 8 out of the 10 people that were in that first session. All of a sudden, this course became a magnet for everyone on Long Island, which if you don't know, Long Island's in New York, everyone on Long Island who wanted one of those great jobs. And they just started pouring in. And of course, we made a ton of money off that client. We put a lot of people into great, great jobs. And the president heard what was going on and came to me and offered me, to head up leadership and development. And so I kind of bypassed the one boss who said, you're never going to do much more, because I advocated for myself. No one said to me, Mindy, do you think maybe you could make a course? That didn't happen. It just occurred to me that this is something that was needed, and I did it. And so that's how I came to this title. I want people to feel the confidence of a CEO, which most CEOs have tremendous confidence. I want you to have this confidence of a CEO to take charge of your career. Even when we talk about interview prep, there's an ability to take charge of your career. You don't have to just, an interview is a dialogue between you and the interviewer. You can take charge of that easily if you know your stuff. And so that's how I came up with the title for my book. It is, just something my offering to the group. And I started, actually, when I first got laid off, I started a career journal. What am I going to be doing next? I thought I was staying at the bank forever, so I didn't ever think about doing anything else. So when I started looking, I started that career journal, and I used a lot of the stuff from the journal in my book as I was creating the book.
And I think journaling is such a great thing, because when I was out, I was journaling every day when I was out of work, just getting my feelings out, just getting my thoughts out. And it was a very therapeutic thing. And I have to admit, I've talked about writing a book for a while. So I give you and Brenda and Joey and all those people so much props for doing it. How hard was it to actually take the thoughts and actually put it into a book? Well, I mean, did it come naturally? Because I think that's part of the process. It's just, it's actually a project to get a book done. It's not just one thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was at least 2 or 3 years in the writing, right? Until I decided what made sense. And so I had a lot of thoughts. It has to have a process though, right? It has to be readable. And so what I wanted to do was not just give, because there's a lot of exercise in the book, things that you can do. So if you don't have a coach, you can have the book by your side, right? You don't need to have a coach if you're going to follow all the steps in the book. But I also wanted to have a storyline, and so I put a lot of my personal stories into the book, so that it made it flow a little bit nicer. It took about 2 or 3 years until I finally felt I was okay to give birth to this baby of mine. And it still holds up, so I'm pretty proud of it.
I know one of the things which is great about what you're alluding to. I always recommend having a job search team or people to go through the process with you, not so much family and friends, but other people who can who can be you can be accountable to, and vice versa. Because the thing that helped me out the most was I didn't smile enough when I was in job search because I was in such a bad place. So we would do some role playing interviewing, and they would actually take pictures of me. And I thought I was doing great. And they said, you just don't look happy. So how are we going to hire someone who's not happy? And you don't realize that sometimes because you don't think about it because you're so intent on making that good impression.
100%. So one of the things that I talk about in the book is your mindset. It's absolutely number one. If you come across as desperate, please hire me, I need the money, it doesn't generate any interest in you. It's got to be something like, hey, this is what I love to do. I can help you, fix X, Y, and Z. This is why I would be a great fit. And 100%, I get it. When you're laid off, you need to grieve. There's no question about that. Allow yourself those feelings. You're missing your team. You're missing the paycheck. You're missing the impact that you had on the people that you interacted with. 100%. But then just move past it and start thinking about patting yourself on the back. What do you do well? What value can you be giving to this next person? How amazing can you help? How can you help them? And how amazing can you be for that company? So I love that. And keep on smiling. Like Eleanor says, keep on smiling for sure.
One thing I missed about the corporate, and I wrote about it today, I would bring in all my Halloween candy to work the next day. I didn't want it in the house. So I would bring it into work, and everyone put it into work, and we had it there. And whatever wasn't finished, we would save for the holiday parties later on. But the best part was I would see candy there that I didn't have. So I could do a swap very easily because, I love my candies. Some of them I don't. And when we lived a couple of towns over, we get hundreds of people. And you had to have so much candy available. So we ended up overbuying. So I don't want to put you too much on the spot. Do you have a certain type of candy that you like?
I'm not a big candy person. I will take dark chocolate Hershey Kisses.
Okay.
I like those. I like those. But for Halloween, I give out Utz pretzels.
Yeah.
That's what I like to give out. I grew up going for UNICEF. I don't know if you remember UNICEF.
I remember the UNICEF, the put the money in the UNICEF. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think they were orange cartons or something.
Yeah, that's what we used to donate money for UNICEF. 100%.
Yeah, Valerie, I don't like Whoppers at all. No, I'm not a candy corn person either. I don't really think that's really candy. I'm a dark chocolate person. Reese's Pieces are my favorite all time. And I think what I will probably do later on today before I return the candy back to the store is take one piece of the open candy just before it goes away. I honestly thought, I'm just looking here, Snickers and peanut M&Ms. Yes. Pretzels. Yay. Trader Joe makes an amazing dark chocolate with coffee in it. Yeah, that's like a perfect pick me up. But what I like more than anything else just to talk is it is so great just to talk. And I think people are very much afraid of putting themselves out there, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's talking to other people about what they're going through. I think it is so important to have that ability to share your story and be willing to let people know you are looking for a job. Especially, I know Thanksgiving, it's like you go around the table. What are you doing now? What are you doing now? And it's a little bit intimidating to say, well, I'm not working. So you either make up something or you just kind of like hide. And I don't think there's any shame in that. And I think that's a big part of jobs is being out of work is the whole job is the shame part of it.
Absolutely. When I first left the bank, I I didn't know where to start because I was always, as director of human resources, I was the one who was promoting everyone else, right? It never occurred to me I should promote myself. It never entered into my thinking. And so when I looked at my LinkedIn profile, I had about 100 connections at the time. And most of them were laid off with me. So they really had no value to me. And I said, you know what? I have to pump up my game here on LinkedIn. I have a feeling this might be something good for me. And I made a commitment to myself that I was going to hit the 500 number because, you know, that 500 plus was very interesting to me. I said, I'm going to hit that 500 number within the next 3 months. And I did it by reaching out to people I used to work with. So I went through we used to have a Rolodex in the day. I went back to my Rolodex and I said, hey, are you on LinkedIn? Let's connect. And I hit that 500 number. But what I want to tell people is don't be afraid to jump in the water. It is okay to start commenting on other people's posts. You don't need to be a content generator yet. If you're not comfortable with LinkedIn, just follow some great people. Follow Kenneth Lang, follow Brendan Miller, follow Virginia Franco, and then comment. Give your point of view. That's the easiest way to start getting known. And when you're talking about, you know, how am I going to get my next job? The best way to get a job is through a referral. And if people know and like and trust you, it's more likely that they're going to refer you for sure. So just jump in the water. The water's fine.
So Joey, a fellow author, is posing this question. What do you think is the most important activity job seekers should do to help get their next position?
Thanks, Joey. I'll send you your $1 in the mail for that question. It's simple. It's networking, networking, networking. It's building bridges. I would have never known Kenneth Lang had I not been on a call with Brenda Miller. I would not have known Brenda Miller if she had not commented on one of my posts. It's the way this works. We connect with each other. I believe in generosity of spirit. Everyone I know on LinkedIn is just so generous and so welcoming. And I cannot say enough. And how simple it is. It's just remarkable because I never have to leave my desk and I can reach out to 30 people in a day in different parts of the world and speak to them and learn and grow and inform. So I can't say enough about LinkedIn. I just think it's an amazing platform and the power is it's just remarkable. And I never would have believed it had I not been part of it myself. But Kenneth knows he's part of that as well.
Well, part of it is also not being afraid to reach out to people, not being afraid to put that first comment down or not being afraid to start the relationship. I mean, what is the worst thing that happens? And I think that's a big part of it. Start by commenting on other people's posts, makes a big difference. And then on top of that, be genuine about what you're looking to do. I mean, and in general, if you're going to post something up and forgetting the algorithm and who knows how that's actually working, if you create a post and someone comments, make sure to comment back and let them know that you appreciate the post with a couple of lines or something, because none of us knew each other a few years ago. And the only reason we started to find each other out is just by reaching out, and we've become, I use the term networking friends. It's as close as we can be. We're networking friends. We've kind of built a relationship and anyone can do it. This is not something that is just something that we do. Anyone can just make that first connection. And I think, Eleanor brings up a good point. You have to have if someone doesn't respond, they don't respond. And there could be any number of reasons for that. It could be because they're busy. It could be because they don't know you. But okay, so what? You move on.
Exactly. Yeah, that doesn't bother me. I try and respond to everyone. Do I miss a couple? Maybe. I don't know. But I try to respond to everyone who responds to me. Do you respond to the likes also, Kenneth? I don't typically do that.
Here's the thing. There's so many different emoticons or whatever on LinkedIn, likes, support, all that. I'm not a big believer in using them. I would rather put a comment in, and I have to, again, LinkedIn, if you're going to take the time to look at a post, just put something down. I mean, and more than just like great post or something, I usually take one day a week and I just comment on LinkedIn posts. I don't use LinkedIn for anything more than that. And that gets me more, I feel better about that because, and so many of the people you mentioned, they create very easy posts to comment on.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
it's not about me, it's about just general things. And it's just taking the first step.
absolutely. And we always want to put at least 5 words in a comment,
Yes.
right?
5 words.
So more than good job.
And then you also, and a lot of the posts that are out there that have the like, and a good job, they're just automated by different technology. It doesn't mean anything. It's a numbers game, but it's a quality versus quantity discussion. And um, just to share a story, if you need help, like we all have networks, someone in one of my groups was looking for a contact at a company for an informational interview. And I made the introduction. But the way I made the introduction is because this person asked me for help. You
Mm-hmm.
want to put on your LinkedIn profile anything that you need help with. And if you're looking for a job, don't be ashamed. Say you're looking for a job. The open to work banner has its limits. People are not mind readers. If you're looking for a job, put it in such a way that at least people can find and know that, because we all do different things to market ourselves.
Absolutely. You had recently posted a comment on a young graduate who was he had a great picture of himself standing in on his campus. He had just
Yeah.
graduated, and you put in, "Hey, I forgot the guy's name. Hey, come to our LinkedIn Live, and you'll get more information than you have right now." And I don't know if he joined us or not, but I thought that was just great. It was great that he posted it. That, hey, I'm just graduated and I'm looking for a job, and then you responded with an actual tip. There's something that you can do to get yourself further faster. I love that.
And Charles Orr, who's from one of our groups here in New Jersey, I think it's the PSG Central, says lack of response maybe because they have a lot of people create several job hunting emails just to do that. And I think that's a good idea. I would go along the lines and say on your LinkedIn profile, you want to have a secondary email address anyway. A lot of people I know keep a work email address on there as a primary. You want to have another way for people to connect with you, and put your email address in your about section. I sometimes feel like it's a broken record. Put it in there. Don't be, I mean, you want to be found. That's the goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always recommend putting a call to action. I put it at the bottom of the activity section, and tell people how to get in touch with you. Right.
Yes.
And by the way, if you're not working at your job any longer, please go into your contact information right now and make sure you don't still have your old LinkedIn, your old email address going to your old company. So just make sure, because I have seen so many profiles when I go in and I'm trying to help someone, I say, whoa, I thought you left that company. And so, oh, wow. So all of his communications going to his old company. And so it's an oversight. It's easy to forget about, but it's something you should take care of if you haven't done that yet.
I think also the mistake that people make is they use LinkedIn. You can use LinkedIn 2 different ways. You can use it to job search, but use it as a marketing tool for yourself.
Of course.
I think when I do my group on Monday afternoon, what works out well for me is we have different people in transition telling each other some suggestions. I don't want to be the one to always make all the suggestions. I want people to make the suggestions amongst themselves. From the perception part, I think it's so important for people to figure stuff out on their own, because sometimes I may be a little bit far removed from something and I want someone to actually say, well, I'm looking at your profile and I don't understand it. I may understand it if I'm an IT person and it's an IT profile, but a non-IT person may not. And I think that's where a lot of this comes into play, is you want your profile to put yourself in the best light.
Absolutely. That's your branding now. We liken it to your billboard. If we were driving down the street and you saw a big billboard and it was about Kenneth Lang, what would you want it to look like, right? Who are you? We have 850 million users on LinkedIn, something like that, some crazy number like that. Right. You never know when someone's going to post on you, someone's going to look at your profile. You just never know. And so you better be dressed and ready to go, just like when you're getting ready for a date. You got to get dressed before the person shows up at your door, right? So get your profile ready. Make sure that it really speaks to who you are. What is your brand? Who are you? What do you want other people to know about you? And get all that into your about section. Get all that and get your experience in there. You know, that those keywords are so critical to being found. And we did interview a recruiter 2 months ago on our accelerator calls, and I'll talk about those in a moment. And he did say the question was, you know, should we put the green banner around our head if we are looking for work? And he did like that. He said that they do look for the green open to work banner. So, you know, if you feel comfortable doing that, then that's great. A lot of my clients are under the radar. They're still working, but they are looking. You know, those people that are doing that under the radar don't want to put the green banner. But, you know, do what's right for you. Make sure that your profile speaks to who you are. What's your story? What can you contribute? And why should someone contact you as opposed to the other 30 or 50 or 80 people who are applying for the same kinds of jobs?
If you need one tip I would suggest, and it works for me, is I use the weekends pretty much to figure out not just the events I might be going to, but sitting down, maybe listing the topics I want to post about, the things that are coming up. Mm-hmm. I'll be at my laptop 9 or 10 in the morning on a Sunday morning, just because if you try too hard at that moment to write something, you're just going to be having writer's block. You just want to sit down, and there's nothing wrong with taking other people's content and using it as a springboard for writing something. You're not plagiarizing. I mean, there's only so many different topics out there. But if you look at other content and you think about how you might make it beneficial to you, again, when in doubt, ask. None of us bite. We're all available. We may not get back to you right away. And I love this comment from Carol McCullough. One prior peer didn't respond to a LinkedIn message. He was in the hospital for quite a while. You never know.
That's
you
true.
Never know what people are going through. And I think that is so important. Follow up. Don't wait and get upset if people don't reach out to you. One thing I've started to change my mindset is if you connect with someone, don't follow up with them right away. Give it some time. Mm-hmm. Give it a few days, give it a week, because so many of the things now are follow up and you get the sales pitch. And there's nothing worse than the sales pitch right away.
Oh, some people's sales pitches come on like automatically. That must be an automatic replay or something. Hey, I want to sell you, I don't know, cleaning services for your home. Okay.
Or it's like, do you have time to chat today? And this is on a Sunday. Well, again, it's what people do. It's what people were taught to do. After a while, and that brings up the whole follow versus connect thing. If you see someone who has follow as their main default for connecting, you can still connect with them if you select the 3 dots and it says connect. It's just that I and others, we've made that decision with creator mode that we want to be followed first. It's not to say you can't connect, but it's a little bit more work. And I know some people have actually gotten to the point of forcing an email address as a next level on there because, and again, it's a tidal wave of stuff out there. All the different things to do.
A lot of information. I prefer to know people that I connect with. I don't generally connect with people that I haven't had any conversation with, right? So a lot of people ask to connect, but I do prefer that they follow first. So I start seeing if they're actually following me, and if they are commenting, and if they are, interacting with me, then I will generally connect. But if someone just says, hey, I want to connect with you, and I don't know the context, like I know if someone wants to connect with me today, great. Just tell me, hey, I saw you on Kenneth Lang or saw you on LinkedIn Live, love to connect. That's something different. But we have to be protective of all the sales folks out there who are selling their goods. I don't know where they go to sales school, because I can't imagine anyone saying, okay, that's a good idea. Come on into my home and start cleaning. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know you.
I know one thing I've started to do going to in-person events is I've been using a QR code on my phone. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that don't know where the QR code is, if you go on your phone and you select under your profile, you select My Network, you'll see a blue circle there. And then the blue circle will pull up a QR code. So I don't even bring a business card. I'll bring my phone. Here's my QR code. And if someone snaps a picture of it, then it's a connection request. And it's helpful in that way. I think it's important, though, to think about and be very think about who you're looking to target. If I go to a networking event with 30, 40 people, I may not want to meet everyone there, and that's okay. I mean, there's a certain etiquette to that. We're all out there for business or to look for jobs, but it's all practice. And I'm an introvert, and I'm still scared to death of going to networking events. Um, you wouldn't know it from these calls. Most of us, this is hard for us to do, but we do it. So, and I don't know if you're an introvert or an extrovert, Mindy, but
100%. I'm 100% introvert, but here's how I get past it. I believe that I have information that will help other people. And so introverts like to build relationships, which I'm very good at doing. Introverts generally are very good listeners, which I do well. When you listen and you start building relationships, you start understanding how you can help serve other people. And that kind of takes you out of your shell and says, hey, you know what, if I can help someone else today, then I'm going to do something that makes me feel a little uncomfortable. Today's my first LinkedIn Live. I was a little uncomfortable, but Kenneth was great. He said, come on early, because I love to be prepared. So I came on early, made me feel comfortable. We saw that we were matching shirts. It's all good. It's all good. And then you kind of get out of yourself. And I do enjoy talking to people and helping them. And so I definitely get the introvert point of view. I think also that's why LinkedIn is such a great platform for us, because we're not the room is isolated, right? You're not in this gigantic room like we used to go to events, or I used to go to events all the time, where there could be 1,000 people in a room. Yeah, now there's 850 million, but I don't see them all. I'm only talking to one person I'm communicating with on LinkedIn at the time. So it makes it easier.
And I think networking is sometimes an overused word. It's about conversations and relationships. I'm so happy we've kind of retired the idea of an elevator pitch, because we're not there as much anymore. And I think it's so important to be yourself. Now, did you want to talk about your accelerator group or the program?
Sure.
I would love to know more about it.
Sure. So at the beginning of COVID, there were a whole bunch of people who were laid off, as we all know. And we formed this group of, it's a private LinkedIn group, which any job seeker is welcome to join. And we started having weekly calls. And everyone on the calls originally was in the medical device profession, like industry, medical devices, pharmaceuticals. And so we drew a lot of those people who had been laid off, and we had weekly calls. Luckily, most of them are now working, and I have taken over as host of both that group and of our calls. And each month we have a guest speaker. Kenneth Lang is going to be our guest speaker. I think it's in February. I guess we'll talk about some LinkedIn stuff. I don't know. But every month we have a guest speaker. These events are all on Zoom, so anyone can join from anywhere in the country. We have our next one tomorrow, where we're talking about organizing a job search, which is a big deal. Like sometimes we have 50 jobs open. Who's tracking where they're going, and which one did I follow up with? Because follow-up, as Kenneth said, is 100% important. Lori's just dropped the accelerator group link in there if you want to register for tomorrow's call. There's still a little space. I think we have about, 60 or so people who have registered so far. But you're welcome to join the call. We host monthly, as I said, a different guest speaker. But on the accelerator group, we always have job openings, and we always have, interaction between the job seekers, who are very, very gracious. I always post the nuggets, our golden nuggets, after every call, so that anyone who misses the call can easily see the nuggets. I'll post them in the accelerator group, and probably also in my own posts as well. The things that we are getting from these calls and the things that people need to learn. I love to learn and then pass it on. I think that's what's most important. Let's learn. I have a mantra. I reserve the right to improve every day. Right? I reserve the right to improve every day. And when I learn something, if I can pass it on to someone else, then that's great. Then we're multiplying all of our knowledge and all of our skills and all of our confidence.
So you alluded to the hidden jobs, I think, in the book, the hidden job market and the like. What do you consider that to be?
Oh, so the fact is that 70 to 80% of jobs are never posted. And there is a very good reason for that. Posting jobs is expensive for the company. And number one, it's expensive. Number two, it's a very high risk for them. They never know when a strange person applies if that person's going to work out. And the fact is, as many as 30% of new employees leave their job within the first 90 days. So that's a big risk. Now they have to start the process all over again. And so for companies, they feel much more comfortable taking referrals from people they trust and know. Okay. And so the concept is, if I trust and know Mindy and she refers Kenneth to me, then it's more likely that Kenneth is going to be a good fit for the company. Mm-hmm. And so referrals is the number one way to get a new job. And how do you get referrals? Which is what everyone said. Well, how do I get those referrals? Because if I'm looking for a job, how do I get, okay. You've got to join groups. You've got to meet people. You've got to network. You've got to start talking to people that are in the industry that you're interested in or would like to get into, right? And start learning about those things. Start posting. Start join groups that are in your industry that are specific to you, and start commenting on those posts. You know, these are the things that we need to do. It's constant activities. It's finding what moves the needle forward, right? Some things you'll do and nothing will happen. Other things might really be good. You know, informational interviews you mentioned earlier, Kenneth, those are so helpful, because if you can get into a company that you are interested in and you know someone, you know, that's everything. Let's talk about that. I had a client about a year ago who was very interested in getting into a particular company, but he wasn't having any traction. And then he contacted me and he said, oh, I missed the boat. I see this job at that particular company, the right one I wanted, and it's closed. And now I can't get in there. I said, hold on. Wait, let's see if there's anyone you possibly know in this company. And I showed him how to do a search, how to find people within the company. And we're going through, and it wasn't maybe 3 people. His, wow, I know this guy, Bob. I used to work with him. I said, do you feel comfortable reaching out to Bob and talking to him? And sure enough, he reached out to Bob. Bob said, you know what? The hiring manager is right across the hallway from me. Just shoot me your email, shoot me your resume, and I'm going to walk it right into her. That's how these things work, you know? So knowing people, learning how to trust them, learning what they can, you know, what you can provide to them and what you can provide, they can provide to you. That's everything. That's networking. It's building those relationships that are really key.
I know around here in New York, they just passed a law requiring salaries to be, you know, listed on jobs. And I know it's going to be arranged, it's going to be put up. Do you have any thoughts about that? Because I know it was pushed back for a few months here in New York because the employers were fighting it. I think the idea of transparency is so important. What are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh. So it started in Colorado. New York was supposed to open it up in May. Again, there was pushback because companies weren't ready or whatever, right. But it's live today, November 1 yes. In New York. We need to be transparent about our jobs and the ranges that we can provide. January 1, I believe it's opening up in California. Kenneth, this is the way. I mean, within 2 years, I would be surprised if every state is not mandating that we have some kind of pay transparency, because how you would never go out and buy a car if you didn't know what the price was. Right. Just like, why would I apply to a job if it's, I don't know, $50,000 when I need $100,000, and that's what I'm expecting. So let's just be transparent about the pay. Let's be honest about it. And if it's good for you, then great. And if it's not, then move forward. 100%. It's a win-win for everyone, certainly for the job seekers who are constantly being spooked by different things that are not true. What did we heard? We heard the other day, someone was offered a job, an interview through a recruiter who listed the salary. And then when they actually got to the hiring manager, it was a very different salary. It's not fair. It's not the right thing. Let's not waste everyone's time.
New Jersey actually passed this last year. I think the challenge is going to be, it's a generational thing. People of the current generation that's out there, the younger folks, they don't have a problem sharing this information, the idea of transparency. When I was in the workplace, God forbid, I mean, if you knew what I was making and you shared numbers, it would be like it was like dirty little secret at times, and that's changed a lot. It's like, why
Right.
shouldn't people know?
Yeah. Especially when you're looking for a job, you need to
Yeah.
know, what the range is for sure.
Well, you
And the
have to
range
know.
can't be from 10,000 to 100,000. The range has to be,
Well,
within.
yeah, I mean, a junior. So many job specs are they're listed as senior level with junior, and it's probably junior pay or vice versa because that's what they look to do. And I think anything for transparency is so important. Um, I think that, and I'm just looking at a comment, you can get fired for sharing your salary. I think part of this discussion is going to be how companies set up their protocols for doing this. I think um, many years ago when I was working, I created a social media policy for one of our companies because back then the mindset was, well, Facebook is LinkedIn, is this, is that, and that's not true. But that was how it was perceived. And so I think this is going to be an evolving process, honestly. Um, and I mean, this is an interesting comment here. If you find a similar posting in one state, you can use the cost of living tables to convert it to a New Jersey salary and get a feel of what you can ask for. Because New Jersey is a very expensive state, trust me, and so are other states. Um, where you are in North Carolina is probably the cost of living is probably a little bit better than it is here.
Mhm.
But it helps to understand that because especially as people looking to move, or again, if it's a remote position, brings up a different thing. If it's a remote position and and you're in New York and it's somewhere else, what's the salary going to be? Is it going to be is it going to be where the company is it going to be where I am? Are there going to be different levels? I mean, there's all different parts of this
Yeah.
equation.
It'll get ironed out. I see Massachusetts is passing also, so excellent. I
Yeah.
think every state's going to follow along. I mean, it'll look just weird and funny if you have to be transparent in New York. And by the way, I have seen more job postings with salary ranges because companies are getting ready. They're getting ready. They know that it's going to be passed soon within the next couple of years in their states. So starting to get ready about that.
The next thing I wish I would see is if companies posted jobs and they put on there, it was just a placeholder job for when the opening is filled, as opposed to a job. You don't know when you're applying for a job. Sometimes those jobs are just placeholder jobs. And I actually applied once and they mentioned it was a placeholder job. We're not hiring now, but we want to, get resumes together. That's part of transparency. You don't always know if the job that's out there, how long it's been out there, if it's real or not. And I think that's a big part of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I recommend people, even if the job is not a perfect fit, apply if it's something within that you're interested in and practice your interview skills. It's a
Absolutely.
great place to practice. If you're not that interested in the job, but you want to practice with somebody and you don't have a coach, go get an interview with a company and see how it goes.
So, Mindy, is there anything else you wanted to mention? Because I wanted to, wrap things up and be respectful of everyone who might have a call at 2 o'clock or anything.
No, is it almost time? It's woo,
Well,
right?
that's what we were talking before about this. Is these conversations just go, and it's like it's really great that way. I want to thank everyone for attending today. It means a lot to me. Next week we have Joey Himmelfarb, and then I'll be taking a break. But I really want everyone here as a next exercise, go back to the post, look at all the people who have commented and connect with each other. You have that frame of reference. You have that frame. You're on this call and maybe you can find something in common because that's what networking is all about. It's just taking things to the next step.
Absolutely. Join accelerators, join groups that will help you move the needle forward, join groups that will help support you. Find a job coach support network. That's what I recommend.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Kenneth. Lots of fun.
Yes.